But you have to put yourself in the mindset of people who strain at the end of the month to pay the supermarket bill. All they're being told is that Joe Biden is making food prices too high over and over again, every day, all day long. One would say to the Democrats, it's like, please talk about only things that are widely popular and commonsensical. Just talk about food prices, talk about gas prices. And when you talk about gas prices, stop talking about the evil of fossil fuels. 10 million men in this country drive trucks of some sort for a living. I know there are people on this call right now are saying, but the climate, but the climate. It's like, yeah, but the climate. But you know what you're not going to be able to affect when you're not in office? The climate. It goes back to the classic Pauline Kael line. I don't understand how Nixon won. No one I know voted for him. It's like we have this like these blinders on where we know several hundred people, we think we know the world.
But how do you deal with that as the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, which is there in DC, and you've got, everyone is in a certain bubble in the media world.
I don't want to retreat to a bubble. I don't think anybody here was particularly surprised that Donald Trump won. I mean, you can be if you spent all your time on social media hearing about this vibe shift toward Kamala, yeah, you can be surprised. But I had a friend who thought this until they drove through central Pennsylvania back down to Washington one day and were like, it's just Trump all the way down. This is how I feel. I can afford, if eggs doubled in price, I could still buy eggs. So I don't think that much about egg prices. But you have to put yourself in the mindset of people who strain at the end of the month to pay the supermarket bill. All they're being told is that Joe Biden is making food prices too high over and over again, every day, all day long. Penetrating that bubble is obviously going to be the work of the Democrats. I mean, one would say, if I were a Democratic strategist, which I am not, thank God, one would say to the Democrats, it's like, please talk about only things that are widely popular and commonsensical, and don't give in to the desire on the part of elite groups to hammer home, especially with weird jargon, your esoteric messages about societal transformation. Just talk about food prices, talk about gas prices. And when you talk about gas prices, stop talking about the evil of fossil fuels. 10 million men in this country drive trucks of some sort for a living, right? The vast, vast majority of those trucks run on gasoline or diesel. Like, you want them to vote for you? Stop telling them that they're doing a bad thing. I know there are people on this call right now are saying, but the climate, but the climate. It's like, yeah, but the climate. But you know what you're not going to be able to affect when you're not in office? The climate.
Yeah.
It's just strange. It's just strange how the Democratic Party is just this party of one special interest group after another. I mean, that's just observationally true. It's like it doesn't say we're. And by the way, Kamala Harris did a better job than anyone in recent years of talking about, like, I'm not talking about race, I'm not talking about gender, I'm just talking about the struggles facing Americans. But it was too little, too late, and she might have been the wrong messenger.
Right. I was talking to someone who was in the Biden administration the other day, and she was saying he made a crucial mistake in focusing on these large bills, infrastructure bills, bridges, all that stuff nobody cares about, that they're not going to see the results of
No,
in
they
just
care. They care when the bridge opens.
yeah. Okay. So they
No,
care.
no, but it's like I mean, we have a crazy system where a president has to do long-term things but doesn't get credit for them. So we'll only do short-term things. But
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
he
your point is a good one.
the
Yeah.
point being that he was kind of operating more as a prime minister than a president, like trying to get all of this legislation through and blah 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 blah. CHIPS Act. Does anybody really care about the CHIPS Act? Any voter?
Voters care about feeding and clothing and caring for their children and having a society that's recognizable with recognizable ethics and morals. They care about, in the sort of Jacksonian way, they care about the national defense, but they don't want a lot of, they're not really that entertained anymore by talk about democracy abroad. Everybody has a struggle. Everybody's involved in a struggle of some sort. And obviously, if you're if you live in the physical world and not the virtual world, meaning if you're a worker in the physical world, you move things from here to there, you build things, you're a plumber, you're a construction worker, you're a truck driver. You know, you hear about AI and you hear about building a great big factories to make more chips, and you're like, I wonder if I'm going to be a useful male, and especially this affects males. Um, if I'm gonna be just thrown away by society because there's nothing for me to do anymore. And it's like, I wanna say one other thing about that because a very smart 24-year-old male said to me recently, I thought 23, 24, said, I thought this was very smart. He said, my male friends who vote for Kamala Harris are voting for her despite the fact that they're male. Men our age who vote for Donald Trump are voting because they're male. Like, and like, you agree with this, disagree with this. It's all just instrumental. It's like if you can't figure out a way to speak to males, not just white males, but Hispanic males and black males, if you can't figure out, then you're kind of on the back foot as a party.
Yeah.
So those are just things that are challenges out there, and a practical party looking to take back power will look for practical solutions to these problems. And then begin the hard work of convincing people that their other positions are correct.